would like to start with our guests in the legislative delegation first, so. So Steve online, is that you, Representative Steve Jacob? Or some other Steve?
Mic is off.
Yeah,
Heidi, you might have to unmute him on your end.
Currently, everyone does have the ability to unmute.
Perfect.
so we're gonna assume it's some other Steve, so Representative Rapinski, would you be willing to introduce yourself?
Sure. Aaron Rapinski, representative for District 26A.
Thanks. And then I guess we have, so I'm gonna start with Commissioner Ward.
Yeah, Marcia Ward, Commissioner, the South rural part of Winona County.
And Chris Meyer, I am District 1, which is the east end of the city of Winona. And we have a bunch of our department heads here. So Todd?
Todd Sadler, Director of Human Resources.
And Todd is started this year, but we're delighted.
9
have
months, close to 9 months in.
Yeah. We're delighted to have him, even though he is came from Iowa.
Yeah.
I'm just
Would
saying.
you like us to speak a little slow? No.
I'm
Just messing, Todd. I'm just messing.
A little fast.
And Jill Chafee is one of our really newer
Yes.
employees, but she's please introduce
Yeah,
yourself. We're
sure.
delighted to have her. Let's
All
say
right,
it.
I'm Jill Chafee. I am the Director of Health and Human Services, and I come here from Wisconsin. So I don't know, slower, faster?
Viking fan or Packer fan?
Neither. I come from Michigan originally.
Well, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fairly,
At least it's
fairly
Big Ten.
fairly safe.
Nice to meet you, Jill.
Now, I'm thinking you probably know Bob, but,
Everybody knows Bob.
but Bob, please introduce yourself.
Not only that, I'm from Minnesota, North Side. I'm glad to be here today and good to Representative Pinsky. Thanks for being with us.
And Phil, I think, gosh, I don't know if I think you were here before Jill, but we're.
No, I'm here 2 months.
So keep going. So please
yeah.
introduce
Phil
yourself.
Sonnenberg, I'm the finance director for Winona County. As mentioned, I'm a little over 8 weeks of being on the job.
And we are delighted to have him as well. And you're coming to us from.
Yeah, I've been at WSU for 13 years and prior to that, spent some time at Fastenal for 7 years, been in Winona since 1995.
Yeah, and I think your and I paths have crossed for other stuff over the last decade or so. Yeah. I knew you looked really familiar.
Yep.
Okay.
Chad?
I'm Chad Lang. I'm the IT director, native of Lewiston, lived in Winona my whole life. I've been here with the county almost 5 years.
And Ross is sitting way back there, but he's very important to us. Would you introduce yourself?
Ross Dunsmore, Planning and Remote Services Director.
And
Karen.
Karen, could you introduce yourself as well? You're very important to us.
I'm just one of the supervisors upstairs for Health and Human Services.
She says just.
Just-
I know, she says that.
Yeah,
but-
more than that.
They are critical for Winona County. So, okay, so you're, if that is not Steve Jacobs, so then it's just you. So, but should we go ahead and just get started anyway? From 105 to 110, all right. So, I'll go ahead and sort of shoot into this. 2026 legislative support. So this is coming from a big list of stuff that we sent to you, and we'll send it again afterwards. It's good that the cost shifts on county scaled back from what they were in the governor's budget, the House budget, and the Senate budget. At the last minute, I understand that a committee was formed, but that committee is still supposed to be finding 75 million in savings in HHS. And if they don't, there'll still be those cost shifts to county. So of course, that's an ongoing concern to us.
That's, if I could,
Okay,
well, we got
yeah.
that topic. That's almost an oxymoron. How do you ask staff who have been working with it and have created the monster to disassemble the monster? It's job security. So you're asking people that have done it and well, we've always done it
And
this way.
added to it.
And added
You're
to
asking the
it
same
and,
people that added,
yeah.
requested more to
Right.
try, yeah.
So that and I know there's a few commissioners in there and everything, but just that creation of that committee was appreciated, but I don't have big expectations of them finding much or really radically revolutionizing the system. So, I mean, the task they were given was monumental and I don't think it's going to happen.
And I think you're gonna hear over and over from us, sort of requests about cost shifts and that's doing, what it's done to our levy and what we already know it's going to do to our levy in the next year. So county program aid and payment in lieu of taxes, we probably think that counties really need more because the work that we're doing on behalf of the state. And the county program aid is really, it's discretionary. It doesn't come with all the strings that all the other funding comes with, so.
It
And
hasn't kept up with inflation or the increase. And I always told you, Aaron, city councils, you do parks and recreation. And we do the tough stuff. We do the human service and the jails and the law and law enforcement and everything. And we can't determine how many swing sets we're going to put up and get a true estimate of what the cost. Our stuff is all over the place.
Yeah.
And I still use that line. Your city councils are parks and recreation.
and the third point, really has to do with SSIS, which stands for,
Social Services Information System, I
Yep.
believe.
but it is really the systems that the state provides that our social workers and our child protection workers have to use that are, so my background is in IT, right? I did software for General Mills for 30 years. To me, those screens from the 80s, they look pretty good, right? But they're really not.
Yep.
And
So, and I apologize, but
Go ahead.
I like to get the
The
points off.
the other systems are actually more outdated than
Yes.
SSIS,
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
Maxis and MMIS.
Yeah.
Correct.
So Aaron,
Those are that.
we were with another lobby group last week and Commissioner Paul Marquardt, Commissioner, came to speak with us. And I was Zooming, but I don't mince my words if I'm sitting next to you or on Zoom. I asked him before when he kind of wrapped up some of his comments, I said, because we were talking about this, I says, can I have your cell phone, your laptop there and your GPS out of your car? And he looked at me, well, why do you want those? I says, you're asking our people to do their job with old antiquated systems. I want you to do your job without technology. Where would you be without your cell phone, without your iPad? And then he told me he has maps, so he could get where he wanted to go. He still reads maps, for directions. But where would we be in this world going out the door here without that stuff? But have you ever sat down with a social worker?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so you kind of know the screens they're talking about?
Vaguely.
Okay, and Karen could easily give you a demo, right? You'd agree to give him a demo?
Say the income maintenance ones are far
Older.
more critical of how slow they are and how old they are, but also how costly to the state to fix because there's so many people in them.
Yeah.
So that's where all their benefits are and everything. So they all could use some improvement, but SSIS is the baby of the state operated systems that we have to navigate and be.
Meaning it's the youngest of them.
Correct.
The youngest of
The
all
others are worked,
outdated
yeah.
systems.
And I know the legislature allocated money for system updates, but we really do think it's important that the state work with counties because counties and our HHS departments and the social workers and the child protection workers that work on those systems, they know what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Well, and how do we
speak
even
on that
like-
real quick? As a bailiff for Winona County, I had the opportunity to do a number of supervised visits and travel with the social workers and hear their trials and tribulations they had to deal with for the system. So I can relate. I've never actually worked on it myself, but I've heard many stories.
Yeah. Well, even how do we hire new college graduates and sit them down at a desk and say, here's your system you have to work with when
And teach
they're
them
used
technology.
to something very
Yeah.
new.
I think Winona County is smaller, but our colleagues in Dakota County and
Oh, all the
Scott
metro.
County and Washington County, they figure it's costing them a full $1 million a year to hire staff to deal with the slowness and the repetitive nature of having to copy stuff over and over because you have to set up every child individually and none of the information copies forward.
And I don't want the state to fix it. Because remember Minlars, what a horror story that was. We have some of the best technology companies in the state of Minnesota, if they haven't left already. But we need to put out an RFP to the private companies and say, this is what we want, this is what we need. And I keep telling the social worker people, we've asked for this for ever since I've been around, 20 plus years, they want it changed. But you can't, again, you can't ask the people that are working with it how to build a new system. I think you need to go outside. They can be valuable input and everything, but don't expect them to fix it.
Well, and I would think there's some sort of group or organization that deals with this specifically, and they have technology already out there. I mean, what are,
Other states
yeah, what are other states using? Have we, I mean, I'm a
Exactly.
firm believer, let's not try and
build the wheel.
reinvent the wheel. Let's make it spin faster and better. So if we can look into what they're using and get names or contacts or
Yes.
systems they're using.
I think there's a piece of that. And I would say every system has been designed a little bit differently state by state and then how they interface with the counties. So that is why having a technology entity that I always say, I go on, Microsoft Word and the Excel spreadsheet, fix things that I didn't know I even wanted. They give them to me. That's what I want. I want something to be given to me that I didn't even know I could have. And I think that's what we have today is people working on systems that are so
So is it
outdated.
possible for you or Karen to reach out to another state and see what they're, I mean,
I'm from
I hate
Wisconsin, but
saying you
yeah.
need to hire a firm to come in
Yeah.
and pay them $20,000 to do a study, you know?
I've advocated for that at a state level. And I don't know if it's falling on deaf ears or not.
And for sure, we belong to both AMC, Association of Minnesota Counties, and the Minnesota County Inter-County Association. I can tell you for sure that those folks, particularly in some of those ring suburb counties that are a little bigger,
Working on it.
they have, I mean, they could probably give you written.
Here's a quick fix though. Just the state of Minnesota take it over. Take us out of the business of doing human services. I'm
But,
sorry.
I mean, Commissioner Ford is right. We are one of maybe 10 states out of
Yeah.
50 where it is the county that administers human services and public health. And I think that the outlook for both those things, because of the cost shifts that are happening, really that is an option.
Sure.
And,
Yeah,
and I think that.
And there's a lot of efficiencies. that
I'm-
could be
I'm-
had.
My first initial reaction to that is, I hate
You don't want
to,
it.
I hate to have the state have control of us. Because what we need is different than the metro or different than the Iron Range or, so I totally see where you're coming from. You would think it would make sense they'd have one universal system and everything would go into a conglomerate database and
Yeah.
Winona County could pull it out, Fillmore County could pull it out, and people move, they have that information, it'd be much easier, but.
Yep. Yeah, well, and so there's so much duplicative people and people is the biggest part of our budget. So you got people at the state, managing programs, then you got people at each county managing
Yeah, I mean,
programs.
I never want to say I want to decrease FTEs, but when you look at trying to be more efficient and save money and do things,
You
sometimes
gotta do.
eliminating
Yeah.
duplicacy is the way to do it.
And some legislators have said that, to shift costs back onto the county, we administer those programs, we do the welfare programs, we do SNAP, we do all of that stuff on behalf of the state or the federal government,
Mhm.
right? And yet we're not fully reimbursed by it. And so sometimes I have heard legislators say, oh, well, the counties need to have some skin in the game. But the thing is, we do. But we face the consequence, and we're gonna talk about some of the legislation, like particularly the act, where the state makes decisions and doesn't have to suffer the financial consequences.
I think Steve is on.
We do.
Sure.
And I think,
Jacob, have you made it?
Representative.
Oh, Representative Jacob, have you made it? Can you unmute yourself or not?
Yes, yeah, this is the most rigorous sign-in I've ever had.
Very
It
sorry.
did not want it, your firewall is protecting you very well.
Well, we've had some suspicious characters.
I guess so.
Doing.
Yeah.
How did Rapinski get right in there, right in the building?
He walked in the door. So I'm sorry you were the target of the firewall. Could you introduce yourself to us?
Good afternoon, I'm Representative Steve Jacobs, serving in my second term in the Minnesota House of Representatives. And my duties at the Capitol include, I'm on the Ag Committee, on the Environment Committee, Rules and Legislative, and very happy this year to be appointed to Health and Human Services, where We have a lot of interaction with counties. Also Legislative Audit Commission, where we've dealt extensively with the fraud and the problems there that are being, that you're facing through Health and Human Services. And lastly, I was appointed to the Conference Committee on Health and Human Services, where, if you remember at the beginning of the year, our session anyhow, Governor Walz was going to balance a $5 billion deficit at the expense of counties. He said he's going to cost shift the $5 billion deficit onto counties through Health and Human Services. So very happy to have worked through all that. I think we eliminated all of that, almost all of it during regular session, and then the balance during conference committee. So anyhow, happy to see everyone back at Winona County.
Great. You know, we have a number of new staff members and they have already introduced themselves. But I guess I still just, because you were a commissioner, because you know us, I would like to kind of maybe just go around quickly again.
Yeah, Todd Sedler, HR Director, been here 9 months, come from the great state of Iowa, the very speedy state.
Yes. Jill?
Jill Chafee, Health and Human Services Director. I've been here about 3 months and I come from Wisconsin.
Bob is still here.
Yes. Greetings. Thank you for being here today remotely.
We have a new finance director, just 2 months.
Yep, 2 months. Phil Sonnenberg, Finance Director.
And Chad, were you the finance director during commission, when he was Commissioner Jacob during his last?
I was.
Okay.
Good to see you again, Steve.
And Ross is here, but Ross is in a new role.
Work Planning and Rural Services Director.
And Karen Bunkowski is with us. Karen, you're the head of.
Not the head of anything. I'm a supervisor for a bunch of stuff.
You're really downplaying that.
Did they get this
Good to see you.
sheet critical?
If they didn't get it,
Yeah.
they'll get it afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what Commissioner Ward is pointing out is that we'll make sure you get
I
this.
think you
back.
emailed that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Representative Jacob, did you see our key personnel list? It's got all
Which
the.
page are you on now?
It's at the very, well, it was the last
Yeah,
page of a
17.
multiple handout, but that has all our department heads and important.
Yep.
Very
Mhm.
good.
Okay, keep that for reference,
Yeah.
please.
And
Okay, I'll throw some in.
Yes, and it is important. I can think of a day when Nancy Zaleski was lobbying you about the use of contract social workers, and Maureen Pulte was not in the office, and we had to get a hold of Karen to help get an answer to the question, to get some information to you. So we do want you to know who our staff people are so that they can help you with information and we appreciate the work that you're doing on our behalf. Okay, so we have come to item 3, which is the commissioner discussion items. So Commissioner Ward, do you have some things you want to talk about?
Well, I kind of targeted some of those. Representative Jacob, how long did you hear our comments? Did you just get in?
I spent 15 minutes, had to create some type of new account or something.
All right.
Anyhow,
Okay.
I got in about 1:15.
Okay. Well, one of the things I want you to be aware of, we had the MICA group met with Commissioner Paul Marquardt, Commissioner of Revenue, last week. And I asked him this question: if I could have his computer, his cell phone, and his GPS out of his car. And he looked at me very strangely. Why did I want that? I says, because you're asking counties, we had been talking about the human service area. You're asking counties to do their jobs with very outdated, technology. And so I think I made my point with him. I don't know if that's true, but I think Jill has, in our packet, has provided a lot of information about the oldness of the systems that we have. And it's actually, I think, becoming a hiring situation too. How can we hire new college graduates to come to work, eager social workers? They want to save the world and help people, and ask them to work with systems that are so old and outdated. So that's one of our pleas. A little thing came up that we spend a lot of money on is license tabs. Why do we have to put little stickers on our license plates every year? And what does that cost us? I don't know what the intent of that is, but that came up at that meeting. Why are we doing that? And then why do we replace our license plate, perfectly good license plates, like every 10 years? And my counterparts across the river in Wisconsin, some of them you can't even read, but again, why do we spend so much money? And the question too was brought up, the new black plates that are and I know people are paying extra, but the county doesn't get any of those that revenue stream. And I'm not sure, I won't pay extra for license plates. I think they're too high the way they are. But that's a revenue stream that the state is taking and not sharing with counties. And we've discussed our own license center. You were at this discussion when you were a commissioner. Should we be running a, county license center at what it costs us money? It's not cost neutral. So the revenue stream for those new plates, why isn't it being shared? Or really in general, why do we replace things so often? That's one thing. Public health, and you're on that Health and Human Service Committee. I have long lobbied to give us one big block grant. We have like 26 public health grants that we have to manage, and then we have to report, and then the state has to report and everything. I don't disagree. We need, to report and have accountability and such, but why 26 different grants that we chase and we do little bitty things with it, and just let us determine again what we want to do, but hold us accountable for it. The paperwork part of a grant is.
Can I speak to that?
Pardon me?
Can I speak to that?
Yes, please.
100% wholeheartedly agree with you, and this is something that I've advocated for multiple times at the state. And I think the reasoning behind it is because you're seeing all the fraud that's being uncovered in the Health and Human Services Department, and for the very reason that this fraud exists, that's why the state doesn't trust the counties and they want all this verification. They think that you operate on the same method they operate. So they're asking for, I completely agree with you. It needs to be streamlining. We're hiring a tremendous amount of state employees just to oversee the county employees. It's redundant. We're one of only 10 states that does it that way. So it's frustration on overload. I'm with you.
Yeah. And just my last thing to save money or be safety. We had the Commissioner of Transportation, and I apologize to forget his name at that MICA meeting. And he was public safety.
No, it was Brad Tabke.
Oh, it was a
He was
senator,
the
chair of a committee.
of the House.
And he was talking public safety. Well, the city of Winona, I said, could you outlaw or ban black hoodies? Driving through the campus area on a night, how many kids walk through with their hoodie up? They don't stop. They don't look free in the crosswalk. I mean, we're lucky we haven't had more traffic things. I told that particular gentleman, go out and buy a bunch of reflective tape. And every grade school kid has an orientation. Every college has an orientation. Hand out some reflective tape and put on these kids so we don't hit them. We've had a few accidents. We've had a few minor, we've had death. Somebody got bicycle and such in Winona. And thankfully, these roundabouts that the state of Minnesota put in are actually working pretty good. I am amazed, but they get dark and it's at nighttime and the paint wears off. But for public safety, go buy some reflective tape and hand it out to these kids and get them shining. They go to school in the dark. They come home in the dark. Especially in the metro area, it's pretty treacherous. I got grandkids trucking around in the dark, and I say, make yourself seen.
I've made this comment with a few different groups. When I was a kid, we learned to look left, right, and left again. Now these kids are coming out and they're constantly just looking at their phone and they don't even look.
No, they don't. They don't. Yeah. So, all right, I'll quit ranting for a while.
So I saw that Commissioner Elsing was trying to get in and he's dropped off now. I'm thinking if that's him.
Yep. Somebody has to click admit.
Trying to get them in.
Yeah, oh, you're trying, you'll do it. Thank you so much. Then I'll let him talk, but I'll go ahead. I have 4 items and they really are just the items that are the lobbying points from the Minnesota.
Commissioner Meyer?
Yes.
Everyone is coming through loud and clear, but you're kind of muffled and not very clear.
I'm gonna turn this microphone. How's that?
Oh, much better.
Okay. All right. So really, these are just the MICA lobbying points.
Yeah.
And many of them have been covered, so I won't spend a lot of time on them. The first one really is the modernization of the Health and Human Service systems. The second is responding to unfunded federal mandates. And really, this is something that Jill gave us some additional information about. But so our staff has figured out that the SNAP cuts, when they are fully implemented, are going to cost us about $800,000 a year. That is partly for the administration and then partly to make up the benefit, which is based on the error rate for the state. And for us, that will be over 3 levy points. And so really, when we look at the shifts, that and the act, which is also the Minnesota African American Family Preservation and Child Welfare Disproportionality Act, when we look at those two things, in addition to what we anticipate for our salary increases and health insurance increases, we are already looking at a 9% levy increase for 2027. And we don't even know what other stuff we're going to get. So with respect to SNAP, I guess it's been asked before when I've been at lobbying meetings, is there any chance the state could backfill what the federal government is taking away for the administrative reimbursement? And then Jill, can you talk a little bit about the point that is, I was shocked to see Winona County's error rate is 9.15. Olmsted County's error rate is over 50%.
Yes. Well, when you're utilizing a system that is as outdated as it is, and we have had to make adjustments to the eligibility requirements as well as the services and the way they're delivered, it's significant. And we are going to be measured according to all of those scores together. So even though we're doing better than the average, we are still going to have to give funds back in that regard. And so it just really, it doesn't make any sense. So, and to have that high of an error rate.
But can you explain what constitutes an error rate? We're overpaid, underpaid?
Both.
What's
It's both.
Okay.
And a lot of it is about what you have to do in the system to figure things out. I mean, there's a lot of data that has to go into the system, and you have to do it properly, and you have to re-enter data. And that is, I think, one of the oldest. If you look at the technology page, it was deployed statewide in 1989. And it is still being used today. And it just is so cumbersome that it takes a lot of time. And then you're trying to meet the standards, meet the timelines that people have in order to make determinations about somebody's eligibility. And yet you have these cumbersome systems that just put us in a difficult position to make the right decisions and to put the data in easily.
Yeah. So
You want me to answer that, or?
yeah, please go ahead.
100% with you, and that's something that I learned from my days back in Winona County was we really didn't skimp very often on technology, which really helped our employees to be as efficient as possible. And I see that as just a terrible misstep by the state to not be giving the software and technology that's needed in a timely fashion. I can understand where that drives people away, makes it harder to get people who want to work for those jobs. I think one of my questions maybe would be back to Commissioner Meyer, and you speak specifically to unfunded federal mandates. I would think that your frustrations would be much greater with the unfunded state mandates, but I see the state as saying many times as, well, we've balanced our budget, and I'm sitting there, the only one in the room, arguing that we haven't balanced our budget. We just cost shifted to the counties, and now we're claiming that our budget is balanced. So I'm surprised that the federal is
there yet.
okay. Well, I'm surprised. I heard you say federal unfunded mandates. I would think that the state unfunded mandates would be a much bigger concern.
Well, and they are. And I'm specifically going back then to the that Minnesota African American Family Preservation and Child Welfare Disproportionality Act, which I'll just call the act from here on out. So it is not that we don't want to keep families together, but this is asking us to go from a reasonable standard to an active standard. And I've attended some webinars that have given us a legal explanation of what that means. So if we wanted a member of the family to think about becoming a foster parent, we could recommend that. That's a reasonable standard. But if we wanted, if under this new act, we would have to find the class, take him to the class. And that is a level that we don't have staffing for that, and it's a massive amount of money. So the number that I remember for Winona County is $500,000, but do you have,
Well, it's at least 3 to 4 more employees.
there we go.
Just to do
Yep.
within our area.
Right.
Yeah.
And with that, isn't it Ramsey and Hennepin are doing a pilot?
Yes.
But that's being challenged in court and everything. But why would you pick the two? It's unrealistic. Ramsey and Hennepin operate on a whole different level. You know that. And why would you pick those two to test something, a system that we would all have to work with? Because they're on a different level. It should have been small, medium, and large counties or something if you're going to do a pilot to see if it works.
And our staff is telling us that this does not just apply to African-American
No,
families.
it's everybody.
It would probably be 95% of all of the families that we deal with in that sphere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because of how disproportionality would be measured and would be looked at. In addition, the area we're in would require us providing transportation to and from services. You don't have that in Ramsey and Hennepin. You've got other transportation systems. We don't have that luxury, and so that would be another cost to the system here at Winona County.
Yeah. So in general, you are absolutely right, Commissioner Jacob, but specifically, we're quite concerned about this because it goes into effect in January of next year, but we would need to gear up our services this year in preparation for it.
Okay, I hear your concern on that. I'm not a federal agent, but
But I always ask Representative Jacob and Rubinski, what's the penalty if I can't comply? What is the penalty if we cannot comply with these acts and these demands?
Yeah. And
I
to
don't know.
be clear, the act is a Minnesota law. It is not it's not a federal mandate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I
don't
can
know.
look into that to get you an answer. But I totally understand where you're coming from. I understand the county's concerns far better than most of my counterparts at the state.
I know
So,
you do. I know you do. And my last point would be capital investment bill to maintain the current transportation distribution formulas. Really because the counties are not getting enough money for roads and for bridges. And I'm guessing that's near and dear to your heart.
yeah, absolutely. So for me, core services that the government should be providing, I'm a strong advocate there. When we start seeing social program after social program, money going out to illegal immigrants for college tuition, healthcare, licenses, that's frustrating for me to watch while I can't get money for core services that the government is well expected to provide. So ferreting out this fraud, billions of dollars of fraud in Minnesota, that's going to help you. And hopefully we'll get that redirected where it belongs instead of where it's been going.
Thanks. Aaron, anything?
Just reiterate what Steve said. I agree 100%. And as he mentioned with the fraud, if we can rein some of that, and that'll give us dollars to put towards, other health and human services and mental health and roads and bridges and maintenance.
Josh, can you unmute yourself?
And if we get him back, I did hear just driving in though, they were talking about there should be a great big beautiful bonding bill this year. I mean, it was on the news as I was driving in. Is it going to be a big beautiful
I
bonding
would,
bill?
Representative Jacob can probably talk better on that, but what I'm hearing, it's 50-50. I asked that specific question 3 days ago when I was up there.
If
We'll have a bonding
if
bill.
we'll even have a bonding.
If we'll even have one.
Okay. And what's
Representative Jacob probably has a little bit more inside information than I do.
Well, that takes a lot of cooperation, and right now with a tie in the House of Representatives and we're down a member in the Senate, so essentially we don't have a majority on either side. So pushing things through becomes more demanding and more, I guess there's more consternation. So it certainly, I've got a number of projects in my district that are very important that I'm working on, and we'll see. I understand the need and understand. For me, what I try to do personally is I'm not trying to take more from the taxpayer. I'm trying to take away from the metro area and redirect it to the rural areas. I mean, that's the battle that I face is, I don't want to go in any deeper in the taxpayer's pocket, but it goes disproportionately to the Twin Cities metro area. So that's the battle that I fight. I don't know if that helps you or not.
Josh, this is a time when the commissioners are sort of outlining their concerns. Can you go ahead? We cannot hear you yet? Okay, there we go.
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Good. Yeah. Yep. No, that's good. I appreciate being on here, Steve. I mean, obviously, Steve and I have had our share of phone calls and conversations and meetings over the last decade or so. But first of all, Steve, thank you for all that you've been doing. Appreciate everybody getting together here today. I am out here working in the frozen tundra. You know why? I got to go get my hands and feet cold here so we can run skid loaders and semis and take care of all these ag farmers because I got to pay my taxes. Taxes are always fun, so it's what are we doing? And we're supposed to be stewards, but unfortunately I got to work more and more to keep doing this. So I want to reiterate what Mr. Jacobs talked about. Really the reality is what I see is we're losing funding for core services, and that's the part that's disappointing. We find the waste, we find the fraud, and we look at that and say, what else could we have funded with all that? And my biggest concern is I believe we are seeing a loss of these core services, and they're going almost secondary to what I'm going to say a smaller group of people are trying to promote. And the health and human services, all these other departments are great. They're needed to a certain extent, but it almost seems like the majority of our conversations geared towards those types of things. I want to respond to what Commissioner Ward asked. At some point at the county level, the state mandates that are coming down, whether they fit us or whether they don't, that is a valid question. What happens if we just say no? What's the fine for saying no and say we just simply don't feel we can continue to do what's being pushed down upon us from the state level? And what's it going to take to get the message through that we can't continue to push the burden onto people? And that I think that's something that we've got to start acknowledging, that we've got a pretty big separation of ideas and thought processes between our ever increasing growing metro area and then the influence into the rural and small community and ag sectors that are trying to govern what we do. So right now, everybody's nice and warm while that guy right there gets into this skid loader and freezing his butt off so he can go pay his taxes. And the reality of it is that guy doesn't want to keep paying taxes just to make a living because he has no way to increase that. He can't go out and just demand it from somebody. So this representation and of what we're doing with these dollars has to come in at a certain extent. And I think we got to start pushing back at some of these social funds that are being put on us because we just can't continue to pick the tab up. So that's my big deal. That's my soapbox today, guys. I got to get back to work, but I just wanted to chime in quick, and I appreciate the opportunity to say what I needed to say.
Thanks.
Thank you. Stay warm. Don't let them bullshit you. Most of those skid steers have heaters in them.
Steer themselves.
I would like to enter a kind of a spot where I would go around to our department heads so that they could maybe share with you for 5 minutes or more, maybe. You've got the most, of course. Kind of what their top priorities are and that you would have a chance to respond to them. So Jill.
Sure. I'd like to start talking a little bit about thanking my income maintenance folks, Jess May and Alicia Zeller. They're on today, and they put together a really good outline that step by step takes you through some primary issues that we need to think about in terms of income maintenance. The piece about the error rates is critical. That's going to have a financial impact. The piece about removing some of the federal support for SNAP, that is going to cost us a lot of money in 2027. And then cost effectiveness are the loophole for the Minnesota eligibility technology system clients. This is so detailed. I won't even go there right now, but it certainly is written for your reference and for you to share and pass along to others. And so really thinking about the examples that are provided here, dental providers in our area, Medicaid, you cannot find a dentist where you can get Medicaid. And I mean, to be honest with you, my husband even had an issue finding a dentist recently because we just moved to town and we can't get in for months. And so the dental providers not taking Medicaid has a negative impact on our folks. COLA adjustments implemented for a full year rather than for only 6 months. Things like that have such a dramatic impact in the detail to those. Again, I want to thank Jess and Alicia for putting it together. But please don't hesitate to contact us because it would be just far too detailed for me to go into in this discussion today. But those are some of the highlights of that particular area. Area number 2, and I have Karen Bunkowski here. She helped develop area number 2, the mental health and substance use. 3 recommendations that we're bringing forth today. Develop a long-term plan to address the growing mental health and substance use needs of people in Minnesota. I think there's a very, this goes here, then that goes there. And I feel like we're putting Band-Aids on things all over the place. And the reality is we need a more comprehensive plan, and we need to increase reimbursement rates to align with our actual costs. Coming from Wisconsin, there were systems in place that counties were able to draw down their actual reimbursement costs. That is not happening here, and there's costs being put in at the county level. And I'd really like to see some analysis and some discussion around what would it take for actual cost reimbursement, and stop unfunded mandates for all of our different types of services, because we just can't do it. And then Karen laid out for us some examples of inconsistencies in a very complex system.
Mm-hmm.
And so I encourage you to look at some of those. Targeted case management is a great example. It's a Medicaid funded service where you help someone coordinate services so they get all the services that they need. The more people you're able to serve, your rate drops. Is that correct, Karen? The rate.
Go over the state magic ratio, either too high or too low.
Yes.
Next year, your funding will be decreased.
Yes. So it's like, it's not a real good incentive, so to speak. You know what I mean? If you're efficient, we're going to take the money away. And so it really is quite counterproductive. And then why does one waiver source, such as the developmental disabilities waiver, pay for travel time and another one doesn't? It creates complexity in the system. There's not a lot of consistency. That one way we're getting funded by, you see someone and you get a monthly fee. Another program, it's 15-minute increments that we're billing. It is very difficult to determine how do we set up a system. One thing that I've been working on with Phil since we came on board is having discussions about what does it cost us to deliver a unit of service. It is really difficult to
Yeah, how
determine.
would you project costs
Yeah,
if you're doing
you
a
can't.
30-minute section here and a day here?
Absolutely. It's all over the place. And it really creates, we talk about a business model, yet nothing that is where the systems we're being put in have nothing to do with being business-like. If I'm thinking about how do I produce something to cover my costs even, we can't. And so all of those things are really difficult. So thank you, Karen, for bringing those things together. And then last but not least, talking about technology tools. And my entire team helped put this together, including Emily from Public Health, Jess and Alicia from Income Maintenance, and Karen. You will see on this the dates that different systems are implemented. This is a brief snapshot. I got a list from Public Health that was, I think, probably 10 more systems that people have to log into in order to do reporting. It's ridiculous. Think about yourself in terms of when you have to do something only once a year. Do you ever get good at it? No. You have to, and so what we're being asked to do is very inefficient, from everything from a system that was designed in 1989 to many more systems that are listed here that may be more new, But at the same time, we're asking our employees to log into 5, 6, 7 different systems in order to complete their daily tasks.
And I
It's-
imagine their systems aren't, you're not allowing them to save their password
Oh.
either, so they have to literally have a post-it note
do
next to their
multi-factor.
computer with the password list on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We have to do multi-factor authentication.
yeah.
Doesn't
So-
autofill.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
want to circle back real quick. You said something about adjustments in a 6-year or 6 month to a 1 year. What kind of adjustments?
Let me look here. Financial workers receive COLA updates in early December for the upcoming year, reflective of the new year's SSI or RSDI increase beginning in January. Once COLA increases are calculated, we allow a COLA disregard or deduction for the months of January through June, allowing clients to often remain eligible for the programs.
Okay.
In July, we take out or add back in the COLA, disregard the amount to bring clients to their full SSI, RSDI payments. Due to this, their aged, blind, and disabled populations will often exceed MA income limits and coverage is lost, or a lesser benefit MA program is offered.
It's
So-
in English.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
That's what-
actually, I'm dealing with an individual right now who, and that, when I heard that word, I'm like, wait a minute. I got an email and had a conversation about this.
Yes.
And he's requiring services. Yeah, so.
Yeah, so it's all very detailed. They're great with that. I'm definitely not an expert in that particular area, but that's how the system works.
And much like Representative Jacob, I'm sure his email box is flooded with people talking about services that will be cut off and they're not sure what they're going to do and so on. So.
Absolutely. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the rules are always complicated. And for me, that has been the hardest thing as a commissioner to learn what the business of the county is because it is so bureaucratic and so complicated.
Absolutely.
Mr. Jacob, I'm sorry. I apologize. I just said that too many times in my life. Representative Jacob, please forgive me. Yeah.
Remember, I want to speak to a representative.
Anything to add? Nope.
No, I'm hearing you loud and clear. I think the DOS operating system I think it's going to make a comeback, and all at once you're going to be on top of the food chain. So no, I'm
not going to be waiting for that.
No, I totally understand. And if there's one place where it makes sense for the state to be spending money, hardware and software, the salaries are tough. They're ongoing, and there's the unions that come with them. But no excuse for us to be not giving you the tools that you need to make things operate smoothly. So
We told,
I hear you loud and clear.
yeah, Representative Jacob, we told Representative Rapinski a solution to this whole thing is just let the state do it. Take it away from us.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, I've made that case before that it works for 40 other states, right? But Minnesota, it's our nature to do things in a more complex manner, and to turn any of that around, think of all the local jobs that people would consider to be lost if the state wasn't doing what they've been doing for such a long time here. So I mean, it's hard to undo processes once they're put in place.
Yes.
Todd,
Okay,
got anything for us?
page 10 of the packet. And what I request is looking at Minnesota statute 273.061, sub 2 regarding assessors. And pretty much the language right now guarantees an assessor, once they're appointed by the board, to be in that office for 4 years. And unless the Commissioner of Revenue determines misfeasance, nonfeasance, or malfeasance.
I can't hear you very well.
There you go.
So it's page 10 of the packet, related to assessors Minnesota statute 273.6061, related to assessors being appointed. And right now the language is pretty adequate. I think it's old. It pretty much guarantees an assessor, once they get into the job, 4 years, unless the Commissioner of Revenue state determines malfeasance, misfeasance, or nonfeasance. I crafted some language to recommending. I think that if we put just clause language in there, and I can understand why they want to protect, especially, an assessor with a lot of complaints on property taxes and evaluating properties. But it causes a problem for a county if you have somebody that's causing workplace environment, sexual harassment, anything that the commissioner determines not malfeasance, misfeasance, nonfeasance. So I do think it's time for that statute to be looked at and changed. I know that's a big take and it's probably small in the priorities, but it can be very costly to a county with 87 here? 87 counties.
Yep, 87
And with
counties.
those assessors being guaranteed a position for 4 years.
What do you think the number should be?
I don't think they should be. I think there should be some just cause language added. A lot of other places we get contracts, we have just cause language. Put it in here, because I'm assuming it used to be an elected position maybe, and maybe that language was forgotten. But I do think there should be just cause language in there that we, as the county, the commissioners can determine after an investigation that they just cause and be able to terminate for just cause.
Did you say you have something written up?
Yeah,
Like your
there's some
proposal?
language in there.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, if there is a justifiable reason to fire an assessor, the county is pretty much unable to do it.
Without
As with almost any position in the county, once they get past their probation period, right?
And this
I-
is probation.
Yeah, I would disagree, but I mean, because you go through arbitration and everything else, but I mean,
Mhm.
that would never prohibit from us doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Chad,
Hi, good afternoon. I did have a few talking points. I'll kind of piggyback off of Jill because I told her when I met her, I would speak for her as much as I could as far as the legacy systems, SSIS and Maxis. Just to touch on it again, these are 25-year-old plus systems. We struggle a lot in IT with the connection between that state system and our equipment, which thankfully Representative Jacob and Ms. Meyer and the rest of you, we took a big ask to you back in 2021. You probably remember when I came in here asking for $1.7 million. It was COVID funds.
ARPA money. Yeah.
But if we wouldn't have upgraded our systems, we would have been hacked years ago and probably would still continue to be. The cost of maintaining cybersecurity, maintaining our systems is becoming near impossible. AI is becoming the enemy of IT right now. It's great in the fact that people like us can do some things in a much quicker manner, but when you can go on ChatGPT and write code, execute it, to hit a system 40,000 times in a day, it makes our job really difficult. So my ask, and I did send this out, so my ask is to just help us stay on top of state-funded grants, monies that could come to Winona County to help try to keep fighting that off. We're already seeing some loss in some services that we use through MSISAC. The state took away their funding last year, so now it's a paid-for subscription that we used very heavily. They monitor our systems, so that it all flows downhill. When they remove the monies for local governments, it affects everyone. So, in a nutshell, I just wish that keep it on your radar that IT. We're at a crossroads right now with AI and all these bad actors are basically taking over. And I could give you some stats that are pretty mind blowing, but a couple of things I did write down here. I think in Jill's area, the average lost time for an employee was 45 to 60 minutes a day using those antiquated systems. Add that up with all your employees over a course of a month, those are big dollars. The average last year, I think that was $1.2 billion in ransomware attacks that was paid out in the state of Minnesota. We had a neighboring county here not too long ago that was, I don't remember the amount, but I think it was a lot, $5 million. So just appreciate you keeping us on our radar. And Steve, I appreciate you. You talked earlier about funding technology, and we do spend a lot. And I know a lot of times it is sticker shock when you see us asking for certain things, but the return on investment is quite large at the end of the day. So we appreciate Appreciate it.
Well, do you guys have, I'm assuming, somebody that is continually looking for grants out there and writing grants?
Yeah, we do. I do myself.
Okay,
Yep,
fantastic.
and I worked with the previous finance director, Pat Moga, pretty closely. He was able to get us a couple funds last year through, well, Karen helped us with a few as well. They're small, but they do help. One of them
Sure.
helped us implement a data backup solution. So all of our backup of all of our data is non-cloud based, non-network based. So we're really secure there. And that was a big win for us. So we'll take anything we can get. But yeah, we do our MSISAC meetings, minute meetings. We do talk about combining resources and trying to find ways to conquer this from a multi-county level as well.
Yeah. And do you have a, like a punch list or what, like highest need? Like
We do.
If you were to get an X amount of dollars, what right now is your biggest need or your biggest want or your biggest ask? Is it trying to update that
Firewalls.
25-year-old, the 25-year-old system type stuff, or is it?
So that system is more of a nuisance and a pain for these ladies here. It doesn't affect us from a cyber standpoint because it's all behind the state firewall and the state systems. So if anything were to happen, that it would fall on the state. We don't have any connections to that. But the loss of productivity is so big for her department, and the loss of, just time. From our perspective, it all comes down to the firewall. We have a very robust Cisco environment, which we implemented 4 years ago. I just ask that we are able to maintain that. We did also, with the help of finance, put together a capital funds timeline. So in 5 years, look at our wireless access points. That way we're not asking for $1.5 million. We're breaking it down with funding we have.
Sure.
So.
Okay.
And as far as I could chime in from the cybersecurity world, Association of Minnesota Counties is really trying to work as a group of counties, 87 counties, to create some local assistance. If you have a small problem, can you contact another county that maybe dealt with the problem and resolve it on a low, on a low.
So they're
budget
able
thing.
to match you with somebody in.
Right, as such. But there, we run the risk of, if you get a crackerjack IT and all these other counties are inundating them with
They're
questions,
all
can you
trying
help
to
me,
get
help
him.
me? And hey, I gotta take care of my own county. That was a concern, but
Right.
this whole world of cybersecurity is a whole new world. And I always say, how many times did they steal our file cabinets and our files? It's a different world we live in, but and we're paying a lot of money. The insurance group that we belong to, we pay a lot of money to have insurance coverage for cybersecurity. And some counties are actually going out and purchasing additional cybersecurity, but there is no security in cyber. I mean, it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
it's
always someone smarter,
Yeah.
and quicker
Yeah.
and faster.
yeah.
And our costs keep going up each year. Seems like almost every vendor has a little note in there about a 10% increase. So
Yeah.
that really affected our budget this year as well.
Mhm.
Representative Jacob.
I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. I'm listening to the wants, listening to the needs. Always much easier to respond to needs than wants. And I understand that AI is the rate at which it is advancing and learning, and for IT to be able to deal with that. I'm worried it's going to get harder before it gets easier. You've got to, I'll have to say this. It was the hardest time I've had signing into a meeting was here at Winona County, and the fact of the matter is that that's good. I mean that's if you're looking for protection from, I've seen some terrible things happen on meetings that were hacked with pornography and everything else. You wouldn't believe it. So if they
We would. It happened to us 2 times.
Yeah.
That is why it
Hey,
was.
witnesses here.
okay. Winona County is, of the counties that I deal with, certainly a very well run county. I would say, especially for the size of Winona County, top notch. I'm hearing your concerns, and I think I'm on the same page with you. So
I appreciate it, Steve.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good afternoon. I did make some remarks. They're pretty generic and I don't want to repeat a lot of what's been talked about. However, one challenge that I do believe we face is telling the story, the accountability portion. Steve, you mentioned it. You balance the budget by $5 billion on the back of these smaller organizations and communities and counties with, no justification other than the debits meet the credits. And what feedback and abilities the counties and communities have. There really is just no transparency in what counties are supposed to do other than to provide a levy that's double digits and not something anybody wants to read about in the paper or see in their checkbook. So really just what is that story? We're fighting that upstream battle in being able to provide these services. So just where that comes from, how that's acceptable, when we are asking the same question of our constituents here. I think we talk about staffing a little bit. Not only is it the biggest expense on our, side of the books, but also we have, with the Paid Family and Medical Leave Act, we don't have a large amount of people to choose from for backup, right? Like, so if people are gone, where do we get those pool of peoples, right? And not only is it costly to pay for these services, to be provided when folks are gone, it is the replacement costs that are going to suffer that debilitate us to even perform the functionality. So just these ideas and what the trickle down effect is going to be are really just some of the items that I mentioned.
Yeah, that makes really good sense with the PFML. I'm hearing stories, a lot of the positions that people are taking that use are, I would say, professional positions that a temp agency can't fill. And nor are you going to find an employee that says, well, we want to hire you for 6 months and then you're done. That just doesn't work. So,
sensitivity of data, right? You
Exactly.
can't just pick someone off of a temp agency or unfamiliar with their practices that are going to walk into HIPAA or, just.
And when you look at tax levy, you guys are every 275,000 is another point on the levy.
About 250,000.
250,000 another point.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is huge. When people see those numbers and
So I have to ask you and Representative Jacob, are they taking money out of your paycheck to cover this paid family leave?
I believe they are.
Yeah, so.
We can't use it.
Yeah, so me too. So why do I have to pay? And as county commissioner, I have to attend one meet. I think statutorily I have to attend one meeting a year and I'll get my paycheck regardless. So how do I claim, why do I have to sign up for a program that I can't collect from? I mean, seriously.
We
Pick
had
that one up. Steve,
had
did you
that
think-
question.
Did you put your stamp on that one?
Representative Jacob can probably talk a little bit more on that.
I mean, that's
His
becoming
committee
a
deals
horror
with it.
story. And even one of my daughters that works in private sector, she says, Mom, do you know they can take an hour at a time of that? And she works for a very large law firm. And I says, well, you work for a law firm, figure it out and change the law. Who thought that one up?
So paid family medical leave, you think it's hard for you, think of like a small farmer, maybe hiring 1 or 2 people. That gets to be much harder than a company that's got, like a Walmart, and you can, another piece that's probably harder than you realize is once you have someone on for 12 weeks, you're really kind of expected to continue to give that person a job. Plus you have to take the other person back when they want their job back. And it gets worse than that. They're calling misclassification. So if you hire out for independent contractor in any way, shape, or form, which is kind of been a good loophole for a lot of agriculture, I'll say, is rather than hiring someone on, you hire an independent contractor who has the specific machinery that you need to do the job. Well, the Democrats now have labeled that as misclassification, and they're trying to rope all those people into the paid family medical leave. And I'm pretty sure, Representative Rapinski, that we were exempt. When the Democrats wrote this, they didn't want the representatives and senators to have to pay into this. So it's a double standard, and I'm pretty sure we're not paying it. Everyone else is. I don't feel good about that. Paid family medical leave it's a complete Democrat trifecta, 23, 24. They pushed that through. We fought it tooth and nail as Republicans. You got what you got. I feel terrible about it. And then let's see, one other piece here that was brought up was the $5 billion cost shift. Well, you certainly there was more than $5 billion of cost shifts overall that happened from the state, but there was this additional $5 billion deficit that we faced. You know, we had just a couple short years ago, we had an $18 billion surplus. Democrats spent all of that. They added another $10 billion to that. And then in 2025, we were faced with a $5 billion deficit. And the governor's stated his statement early on. His solution was to cost shift $5 billion from the state onto the counties in health and human services. So I fought that from day one. I was appointed to that Health and Human Services Committee, fought it from day one. We got almost every dollar of that $5 billion eliminated from being cost shift onto the counties. And then I was appointed to the conference committee, sat on there with Senator Hoffman, who you know what he went through with, the attempt on his life. I mean, it's craziness. But anyhow, in the end, we got every single dollar of that $5 billion proposed cost shift onto the county eliminated. So it was hard work. I'm working for you. And I want to tell you also, it has been it's an honor, blessing, and privilege to have people like you to work for, but working alongside of Representative Rapensky, he has been a breath of fresh air at the Capitol. He's so competent, the areas that he works in, and I tell you what, if he doesn't know an answer, a representative of his nature, he'll get the answer. If someone comes to him, he'll have the answer. You are blessed with the people you have in that area working for you. So, and I am having people like you too. So, but I kind of got off the track a little bit there.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it looks like we got about 23 minutes left. Bob has some things to share. Ross, you don't have anything in the packet. Okay, so Ross doesn't have any things to add. So please go ahead, Bob.
Well, we got a couple of items here, but let me just follow up on what Steve said. For years and years and years, we were trying to get some blacktop out in the Whitewater, and Aaron became a representative, and it got done. And I don't know how you did it, Aaron, but congratulations. It's appreciated. All right, we record quite a number of thousand documents each year. It's everything from buying and selling real estate, mortgaging, to marriages, birth, deaths, all of it. And in that package, we collect about a dozen different fees for the state of Minnesota. And in this time where we've really had an escalation in the prices being paid for real estate, we have a special tax on deeds and on mortgages that the past year jumped to $1.4 million. And what the county got out of that was about 400,000. We're getting 3% and the state is getting 97%. And I could take the next 20 minutes to tell you about all of the work that goes along with that. But we want to be fair. We're pawns of the state. We're doing an outstanding job for them. There's been no issues on our end and on their end. But it just seems like 10% would be kind of a minimum that, would help the county.
Calendar. Contact Bob about tax. You and I talked briefly about that.
All right.
All
right.
So yeah, that's my next week's calendar.
I just wanted to mention here in front of everyone, and I did want to say that we've gotten some initial very, very positive response from our representatives. So we're really pleased about that. And Steve, would really appreciate your help and partnering in and seeing if we can't get some of this money at the county. We've got software in our office that we use. I'm very, very proud of it. I could spend the afternoon telling you about you know, where things were when I started, and I'm very proud of today. All right, let's just take another one here. We have a recording fee, and that's the only one that's entirely county. But each legislative session, we've got other groups that have nothing to do with real estate or financing, trying to take some of that money. And last year, it came really close where we lost some of that. We've got a big bill to pay to keep upfront with technology. We just ask that if we have, you know, somebody looking for money and they say, well, let's take some of the recorders, just know that we're on a real tight budget here. And commissioners keep asking, what else can we do to try to help pay the bills? And we're doing that. And that's why we're talking to you today. And in the legislation that's coming up, there's a proposal for a tax property review. And it looks like there's going to be a proposal coming before the legislature to appoint a committee. And they're going to look at a number of the different aspects. We'd really like you to look at one, and that's getting the Department of Revenue to have a computer program software that all counties use. And in the last several years, we have lost a lot of money here because companies come and go and we don't have the longevity, and yet we're paying a huge bill. In the state of Minnesota, we've got a lot of special items that show up in the tax package. The state can give us a basic tax package, and it's going to be this much money. And if you're going to add on specialties to it, then the county can pay the bill for that. There's something else that can be worked out rather than we're not doing all of these crazy things and we're getting a big bill for it. And in addition to that, we just say that, you know, we want to do our part, but we can't be everything to everyone. And the numbers, they're all good causes, but it's making it a very, very expensive tax system, very expensive. So hopefully that if this proposal comes before you and Steve and the others regarding the study group, I think there's a lot that can be done there.
Right.
And I appreciate you today and your time.
Well, thank you.
Steve. Thank you very much.
And thank you for your kind words, Representative Jacob. And obviously, I've had the opportunity to see Bob's presentation, a few different organizations and stuff and different aspects of it. And I know one thing you talked about is how you were able to negotiate and save our county. So we're very fortunate having someone like you in that position and for the longevity you've done it. With that being said, I'm sure you don't have a whole lot of many years ahead of you in it. However, if you and I can work closely on some of this, as I kind of start ramping up into the field and you're starting to kind of work your way out, maybe we can come together and work on some of this stuff. And I'm more than interested to be as involved as I possibly can be with that process. So when that bill or suggestions come forward up there, I know you and I have talked on the phone many different times, and I appreciate the fact that I can call you and say, hey, this is what's coming up. Give me the 411 on it, and you don't beat around the bush, which I appreciate. So yeah, you and I will work closely with this, and moving forward in the exact near future, you and I will talk about that tax, about the 97/3, and see if we can't get more to the county.
Thank you.
Representative Jacob.
Are you asking me specifically to speak to Bob's issues here, or are you wrapping up as?
Yeah, Bob's issues, although if you have any, yeah.
Yeah. Again, your county, Winona County, blessed with the expertise from the years of service that an office like Bob has had. And you know, I remember back when I was there as commissioner and transferring all those documents, digitizing all those documents. There's been a lot of work done there. And I think, by and large, I think Winona County is a long ways ahead of a majority of the counties that I deal with, especially from a technology standpoint. You know, maybe not Olmsted or Hennepin or some of the metro area, but of the 80 other rural counties, Winona County, I think, operates probably the most efficiently of almost any of the counties I deal with. And that feels good for me. You know, now my district currently, you know, I've got 4 counties, geographically more than half of Olmsted County, Goodhue County, and half of Wabasha County. But to see how different counties operate and how efficient Winona County operates, yeah, it's a benefit to the state. I see that. I've come much more from a standpoint at the state level of trying to hold the state accountable to these local levels of government. And you don't see that out of a lot of the state reps. I mean, I've had other reps tell me point blank, they see counties as special interest groups. So I defend the counties, and yeah, I can see very well where the work that's been done in Bob's office. Thank you for that, Bob. Thank you all on all of your offices for what you've done. But yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yep.
Thank you.
Ron Ganrud is not here.
Yeah.
He does have some items in this packet. The one that I'll just mention is the Larry R. Hill Medical Reform Act that has to do with medications that someone is receiving before they enter the jail, and is likely to cost us, I don't know, over $100,000 when it is fully implemented. It sets some requirements that we have our own medical services, and we then prescribe medications as are appropriate. And Ron sort of talks in his section about any medication they have before, we're now required to give them, and it requires us to go consult with their doctor. I understand that sometimes that's quite difficult to get a hold of them, so then the staff wastes a lot of time trying to get a doctor to call them back so that they can consult on the medication. So it is ending up being expensive for the sheriffs to implement. And I mean, he's got some other stuff in there too, but that's the one
I
that,
gotta read his example. His example, and I had to laugh.
oh, it's about
chuckle.
Viagra.
The law would require Winona County to provide Viagra to an inmate if he was currently taking it. Well, if he's in jail, I don't think he should have Viagra. But like Commissioner Meyer said, this whole thing, my husband's chasing doctors all the time for little stuff. And you don't get to talk to a doctor. You call Mayo or Gunderson in this area and you get a runaround. But one of the things that Ron did put in here is, and I do have issues with all our commissioners. You know, the commissioners at the state level are all political appointees. And of course, you saw the letter for the commissioner or Department of Corrections. And Representative Jacob was here when, remember, they used to come in and tell us for years our jail was just fine. Reports were good. Everything was fine.
Until it wasn't.
And then bang, it wasn't. We had to build. And then this letter that was recently sent, and it's the whole thing of interpretation of the laws. And I have good friends in Houston County, and they luckily did open part of theirs because they had 2 or 3 prisoners a day, and they did do some things to do a juvenile facility that's being used, I think sparingly. But they were allowed to do that, and the interpretation of the rules was totally different. And I go through this all the time with public health. Commissioner Jacob would know I've sat on that SHAC, the State Community Health Service Advisory Committee, forever. And every couple years we get a new commissioner of health, and they come in with their political agenda and what they want to do. And then the health staff is scattering around. Well, we're going to call ourselves this year, and then we're going to reorganize next year, and we're going to call ourselves something else, and shuffling around. So why don't we just hire and fire the best people to be our commissioners versus political appointees? I mean, it's frustrating. Very frustrating. And this jail thing is just, are our rules good today? But the next inspector or the staff who does reviews may have a whole different interpretation of the rules.
So we got about 10 minutes left. Representative Jacob, would you like 5 minutes to sort of summarize your thoughts with us? And then Representative Rapinski, you can do the same.
Sure, thank you.
Before they do that, I would like, Representative, how best can we impact your decision-making? Because I feel if you get information from state people, you're going to get one story, but I would please just ask you always to check with your counties. How does it impact counties. Because I don't have, I apologize, I don't have great trust in some of the state staff. They've misled us and taken advantage of us for many years. So how you make your decision, how we best can help you.
Yeah, well, I guess I don't want to jump in. You go ahead first, Representative Jacob.
Yeah, please.
Well, I'll just say having you there as a resource is, and for me, having the background of having been a commissioner, that's just invaluable as I serve at the state level. And so also, I was wondering where were Bagley and Olson? They weren't.
They got other jobs.
Yeah, I guess they're at work.
Okay, all right. So obviously, like I said, I've got four counties, and I already did Goodhue County, and for next year, just so you know, they serve a delicious meal. And I'm just telling, I can listen so much better when my stomach is full.
There is no free.
That's why he didn't come in person. I thought there was going to be a meal.
Okay.
County government.
You'll come, okay. All right.
We'll remember.
I just came, actually.
Yeah. Well, I think I've kind of went over the majority of things that I would need to go over for your purposes there. I want you to know which committees I serve on: Ag, Environment, the Office of Legislative Auditor, Health and Human Services, Rules and Legislative, Clean Water Council, and Subcommittee on Minnesota Water Policy. So, I still am kind of focused on a lot of that Ag and Environment pieces, but have added to that Health and Human Services aspect. And I'm just, I feel like it was for me, the good Lord working in ways that preparing me for this position by having been through everything I've been exposed to in Winona County, good, bad, or otherwise, and most of it good. But having you all there as a resource, like I said before, honor, blessing, and privilege to work for you all, honor, blessing, and privilege to work alongside of those who I work alongside of in your district there, or in our county, I should say, in particular, Senator Drazkowski. He's just, ever so very competent, eager to work for people. Senator Miller, they're both going to be retiring after this year, so landscape will look different in 2026. But again, working with Representative Rapinski, you guys are blessed with people who truly care, because I see it at the Capitol. There's a certain amount of people who just, it seems like they're going through the motions, and then you can tell the people who are just genuinely doing everything they can for their constituents, for their counties, and it's easier to want to put that effort in when you've got people like you that are just, quality people who care about their constituents. And for me to have that background is just, it's invaluable. But I'll keep it short. If there's questions, happy to answer them.
Who's your key staff person we should get to know on a first name basis?
Mason Epinetter is my,
Mason?
Yep.
Okay.
He's my legislator, and he's a young guy, 22 years old, but I mean, he's competent, eager, willing to learn, and yeah, I'm blessed to have him too. So
I know it's always easier to get a hold of them than you.
probably, yeah. But I mean, he's Johnny on the spot with, here, this is critical. You need to hear about this now. So
good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, to just expand on what Representative Jacob said, I think for me, as a newer legislator, the communication line is huge. And I know, like, Bob and I have talked on the phone a few different times about things. As far as what I can do to assist with, keep me appraised of what's going on. If there is some bill or something coming up, or a law or something that needs to be looked at, like the things you guys mentioned, don't be afraid to call me. And I deal with health and finance policy, military and veterans affairs, and public safety. So I do touch a little bit of a lot of this stuff, but just keep me aware. For me, I have a new LA also. His name is Yang. I think he's kind of like Madonna or Cher. He just has one name, it's
Oh,
Yang.
Yang?
But
Okay.
he's been around quite a bit. I have only met him once in person. We have great communication. But honestly, if you guys ever have an issue, call me. I mean, my phone number is out there anywhere. I'll give you my direct cell phone. Just give me a call. Sometimes, and I know Representative Jacob deals with the same things, we get bombarded with the forum emails where everybody, I'll get 100 sometimes in a day of whatever the hot topic of the day is. And it's tough to kind of go through those because I personally try and, if it's somebody from my district, I try and give them an answer or at least contact them and let them know, hey, I looked at your email, even though it is a Form 1, appreciate your insights, working on that. Here's what we're doing. And a lot of times for me, it's that standard paragraph or two, same response, but it's the same email they send out. So, so for me, as far as communication goes, call me up. Call me up. And if you're ever willing to come up to the Capitol and meet and want to talk with some more people, like Representative Jacob alluded to, I'm more than happy to help facilitate or put it in order. Try and make a meeting or, get you in face to face with more so than the decision maker besides just me, and get you to the gatekeeper, so to speak, and help make those contacts. To talk about Whitewater, I'm not going to take any credit at all, but I am constantly in talking to Chelsea and talking to the few, Mary France and a few of the bond issue people. And I'm in there multiple times a week reiterating that, we need more money for our water treatment facility. We need a police fire training facility. We need Whitewater. That was one of the things I brought up with them. So I can't take any credit for it, but I addressed it with them. I'm kind of under the belief sometimes a squeaky wheel gets greased first. So I am constantly being a squeaky wheel up there in their ear for a bunch of different things. But I won't ramble on anymore. For me, it's just communication, having those lines and being able to, if I can call you and specifically ask you, hey,
Yeah.
what's going on, what's out there, and don't hesitate to call me. I mean, really, I pick up my phone when the phone rings, unless it says potential spam call.
Yep.
But I know Marcia has called me a few different times and a few different things. We had some really good discussions and stuff. And so the more I'm made aware of stuff, the better. And with that, I am not afraid to ask questions. And you guys will see that as the years come on, that I may call you with what you guys think is kind of a silly question or, well, you could have looked it up, but if I can make a phone call to you and get that answer in 30 seconds, instead of me having to have myself or some of my team research it. And to speak with, the question kind of came up about how we find out about things. We do have at our disposal research teams, both on the Republican group has a team, the Democrats have a team, and then we have a bipartisan group that gives us kind of the straight answers on things. And we use those. I use those guys quite a bit for different issues and stuff. So like, for instance, with your tax issue, that is something after you and I talk a little bit more exclusively with, I would like to have you sit in a meeting or, via Zoom or over the phone with that research team and we can ask some specific questions and get specific answers and know how we can kind of move forward on that. Or even, fees for, how we keep more fees in Winona County and stuff. So it's all about communication.
I want to thank our guests today so much for your time and for all the work that you do and being our representatives. And I want to thank all the department heads and other supervisors who came to there and shared their
Did this
information.
get sent out to them?
I understand that it did.
Okay, all right.
I think I have that in my email thing. I just wasn't able to print it for whatever reason. I couldn't, probably your security, because I couldn't print it off on my.
But you can have it.
If you don't mind, yeah. Yeah.
So I'll leave you with, thank you for shotgun rifle decisions. Thank you very much. Really
Yeah,
appreciate that. And
so
I had a conversation with Senator Drazkowski about that too.
I
Thank
do
you.
want to ask that. So you probably know the same names I know. I've heard a bunch from both sides.
Yes.
And I've actually talked to Mitch a few times about it too. What is your take?
Well, we agreed to have a public hearing in the end of February.
Okay,
Because I told my people all along, because they were sending stuff and everything, and a lot of people don't contact us as they
Right.
should. So we did agree, and the board agreed to have a public hearing, February 24th, is it, or something? Our last.
Our second meeting in
Yeah.
February.
Okay, I may just come just to
You're welcome
watch
to.
that, because
You're
I
welcome
get
to.
like Bob and some of those other guys
Yeah.
almost weekly.
We had
I get phone
Wabash,
calls. and-
Sheriff and his deputy here wondering, thinking we were going to make a decision and they wanted to hear the talking points, and we had a lot of good little
Yeah.
Yeah.
emails and,
I mean, we had a pretty robust conversation about this last year at a meeting.
yeah, but
I had reached out to the sheriff and then to our emergency manager, Ben Klinger. And Wisconsin did this back in 2012.
Mhm.
Yep.
And they had really been focusing on education. So there was not an increase. There continued to be a decrease in incidents where, people getting shot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, there continued to be a decrease even after the change was made and rifles were allowed. And there were a number of pretty good points that the Wisconsin DNR made. For example, the vast majority of injuries happen within 50 yards.
falling
And-
out of tree stands, I think was
Yeah,
higher
I mean,
than gunshots.
in incidents like where you get shot, right? They happen within 50 yards. And then the second one is that it's like more than 50% are self-inflicted. So, and the rest are pretty much, the rest of them are someone in your party. Apparently deer drives are quite dangerous
Sure.
for people getting shot. So there wasn't a lot of evidence really to support this idea that it would be a lot more dangerous. But the people who did really have concerns about it are folks who live rurally, and we're very concerned about people hunting with rifles around their
Right.
homestead.
And rightfully so.
Yeah.
Right, and those are
But I
the
remind a lot of these rural landowners, I know in my neighborhood, they rent out their hunting land. I said, if you're the landowner, you can tell them you can only use shotguns on my property.
Mhm.
You can say that. And they look at you, yeah, that you own the land. You can dictate what you want done and not done and such. But you can go out today and take a rifle and shoot coyotes and varmints.
That's
and-
right, raccoons.
The other thing I wanted to bring up real quick
Yeah.
was the possibility of posting. That's another issue I get a lot of phone calls on.
Posting,
Apparently they
no
have to be
trespass?
posted, no trespasses every
a bunch of crap.
2
I mean,
years.
I, as a landowner, have to go tell somebody to stay off of my land, and it's
Well-
gotta be every so many feet and so often. No, they should know that it's not their land and they
Right,
shouldn't
right,
be
they
on
should.
there.
I know.
Posting is crap.
What was addressed to me by multiple people was that, you have a 80-year-old landowner that doesn't have the capability to go out and put new signs up every year, every
Yeah.
other year on trees. Purple tagging, something other states do. Are you guys talking about that at all?
We haven't
To-
addressed that at all.
Where that would be like a permanent posting mark?
Oh,
Where,
no,
where
we
like,
haven't.
if they painted the tree purple or painted I think it's a horizontal stripe on the tree, that it would designate.
It's land that I can't even walk on. You'd have to have one.
Yeah,
leg longer than the
I'm
other.
just asking because I had some constituents call and ask, and I said, I'll bring it up at a meeting at some point when we get back in session. So, okay, all right. Well, thank you. Thank you guys for your time. I really appreciate it.
Another chance to talk if you want it.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Steve says, I go on my back deck and shoot deer, no problem. Just open up the door, put my coffee down and,
I only allow archery hunting on my property, just, that's the way it is. But yeah, people have the right to manage that however they want to, without government interference. And, I think it gives more options. And I do believe that we passed that this year, the purple paint law. I think that was Representative Gilman who passed that
yeah. Heitzman
purple.
Hills, I think.
Purple paint, and so apparently you can paint purple, and that's supposed to you can go on anything, trees or fence posts or
It has
yeah.
to be above, is it
Yeah.
6 inches
Check
or
the
something, I think.
Paint law. Okay,
yeah.
I'll look at that
Great.
more, Marcia, and I'll bring you up to speed on it.
okay.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna adjourn
Great.
us to everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks,
your time.
everyone.